till now we covered, in the last lecture we covered unreinforced, over-reinforced and balanced sections. Balanced, under-reinforced, and over-reinforced sections. What did we get to know from this last lecture? What did we get to know? Any one of you? क्या पता चला हमें last lecture? Our design should be under-reinforced. Our design preferred. This is preferred. You always have a preference. Preferred is under-reinforced. Now, in this lecture, we will move ahead and we will talk about the design of flexural elements. We will be talking about the design of flexural elements. Now, what do you mean by a flexural element? An element which undergoes bending. What do you mean by it undergoes bending? An element which is under flexural stresses. Under flexural stresses. Now this element is a flexural element. But I told you this, that whenever we say it's under a particular stress, it's not only under a particular stress. Now, what are the flexural elements? Beam is a flexural element, you can say. Why? Because it's supported at the ends, it has load which is perpendicular to its plane. And what does that lead to? That leads to the development of flexural stresses or the bending stresses, what you also which is also known as bending stress. Now, I told you this, that it's not only under flexural forces. At the same time, you have already analyzed this in your first year itself, जब आपने एक beam में bending moments निकाले and shear forces. So there were not only bending moments but also shear forces. So there, it's also, you have shear stresses here. And then in your second year, in your structure course, you studied that it also undergoes deflection. Then you also came to know that there is a particular slope which is developing in that element. Now, what is that slope? What does that slope tell you? Rotation. It's telling you the rotation, the end rotations of the element. Now, if the end is fixed of a support or it's partially fixed, there will be end moments. And those end moments, if coupled with more forces, it may lead to torsion as well. It may lead to twisting as well, the twisting moments or the torsion moments. So, when we say it's a flexural element, it's not a pure flexural element. We have already discussed this. Then we have a basic assumption for every element which is under flexural forces as well, is that under load, the element undergoes bending. It's undergoing bending. Now, that bending is it's uniform throughout the section, throughout the depth of the section. Now, how do we say that it's uniform throughout? For example, if it's undergoing bending, under the bending forces, यहाँ पर कम नहीं हो रही है और यहाँ पर ज़्यादा नहीं हो रही है, we say it's undergoing. So plane element is undergoing plane bending. It's a plane element. It was a plane element, and it's undergoing plane bending. जो इसमें bending हो रही है वो भी यूनिफॉर्म ही हो रही है, यहाँ पर भी उतनी ही बेंड हो रहा है throughout the depth of the section. ये ऐसे नहीं हो रहा है कि यहाँ पर ये पतला हो जा रहा है और यहाँ पर at the center it's कम हो रहा है, ऐसे नहीं हो रहा है, या ऐसे नहीं हो रहा है. Not like this. So the amount of जो depth along the depth उसमें bending हो रही है, it's uniform. This is an assumption. Although this may happen or this may happen, more chances are that once it reaches the yielding point, it may develop necking here at the center. So the section will not remain plane. So your assumption, section remains plane. Plane, which plane? Any or iron? Plane. Which? One is the sectional plane. We can say sectional plane. It's remaining plane throughout, even after bending. Do you get this? Clear? समझ आया? नहीं आया? मैं यही कह रहा हूँ, जब इस पर मोमेंट्स डेवलप हो रहे हैं ड्यू टू अ परपेंडिकुलर लोड, now what will happen due to this perpendicular load? It will undergo bending strains, and now those bending strains जो यहाँ पर जितना होगा उतना ही बीच में भी होगा, and this is an assumption, although that will not happen. At the ends the amount of load is lesser. लोड कहाँ पर है? बीच में. तो ज़्यादा लोड कहाँ पर ट्रांसफर होगा? जस्ट सिंपल, लोड यहाँ पर ज़्यादा ट्रांसफर हो रहा है, जाएगा तो एंड पे, लेकिन लग कहाँ पर रहा है? एट द सेंटर. सो नॉर्मली इट शुड बी मोर लोडेड एट द सेंटर, बट व्हाट वी आर अज्यूमिंग इज दैट द इफेक्ट इज यूनिफॉर्म. द इफेक्ट ऐसे बेंड हो रहा है, इट्स यूनिफॉर्म. अदरवाइज बीच में ज्यादा बेंड होना चाहिए, हो तो रहा है, लेकिन उससे क्या हो, वो या तो पहले फूल जाएगा, उसके बाद वो जब यील्ड हो जाएगा उसके बाद खिंच जाएगा. तो पहले फूल जाएगा ऐसे बीच में, फिर उसके बाद खिंच जाएगा जब नेकिंग डेवलप हो जाए. That's what should happen under a load which is a point load. This is a point load, but we assume that it's behaving uniformly under the stresses. So this is the first assumption that we use in the flexural stress mechanism. Now, what was the other assumption? That we are not designing it for at the same time for shear stresses, not for torsional stresses. This is partially true. We are designing, but we are only checking for other things, other stresses like shear, for deflection. You can check for torsion. So the list can continue. You can keep on checking for the other parameters, but mainly we are designing for flexion. Why are we designing beam for flexion stresses? Because the predominant mechanism is flexion. Other mechanisms are acting less, they are more silent, देन प्रेडोमिनेंट कौन है, जो जो जिस पे इसका मैकेनिज्म बन रहा है, दैट इज फ्लेक्शन. बट शेयर भी बन रहा है, अदर थिंग्स आर ऑल्सो हैपनिंग, बट दे आर लेस प्रेडोमिनेंट, जिससे फेलियर की तरफ वो नहीं जाएगा. अगर फेलियर होगा तो पहले किस में होगा, फ्लेक्चर में होगा. सो वी हैव टू डिजाइन इट फॉर फ्लेक्चर. नाउ द सेकंड एलिमेंट विच इज डिजाइन फॉर फ्लेक्चर अदर देन बीम इज slab. The second one is slab. It's also designed for flexure. Slab भी अगर आप उसका क्रॉस सेक्शन उठाओगे तो लोड ऐसे आएगा, लाइव लोड उस पर, it will be supported somewhere. So you already have, one is beam, second is slab. Now the third one is footing or foundation. Now with a footing or a foundation, for example, this is column, and you must have seen, not read, you must have seen there is a foundation below it. This is foundation. वो उसके नीचे होती है, कॉलम के नीचे फाउंडेशन होती है, दीवार के नीचे फाउंडेशन होती है. अंडर वॉल you have a foundation like this. So you always have a foundation underneath a particular element. Now what is happening to this foundation is that यहाँ से लोड, पॉइंट लोड आ रहा है, यहाँ पर ये पूरा नीचे सपोर्टेड है ग्राउंड पे, बट द ग्राउंड इज नॉट, इट्स वीक, द सॉइल इज नॉट, वो इट्स नॉट अ फिक्स्ड सपोर्ट, सो इट कैन इजीली अंडरगो बेंडिंग. There is no rigid base at the bottom of this foundation. It's soil underneath it. Maximum there could be rocks, but still it can undergo bending stresses. So under this point load, it will undergo bending. But the mechanism is a little different, which we will discuss. It's not in your course in design of concrete structure 1 to study the foundation design. Then the fourth element which undergoes flexural stresses are the retaining walls. Dams or coffer dams, dams. Their mechanism is something like this. When you came up through this road, जहाँ से आप अभी इस रोड से चढ़े, तो you must have seen a wall made up of stone or of RCC, जो कि उससे दीवार बनी हुई होती है to the soil. जो वहाँ पर there is a mountainous, तो वहाँ पर दीवार है to the soil. तो वो it's you have dams. Similar, पीछे सॉइल के बल्ले पानी होगा एंड फाउंडेशन नीचे होती है, देयर इज अ डैम, इट्स लाइक अ कैंटिलीवर बीम अंडर अ लोड लाइक दिस. Similarly, coffer dams which are constructed before the main dam is constructed, such that आप पानी को डाइवर्ट करो until the dam is constructed, तो वहाँ पर होता है. And there are many hydraulic structures, and then you have overhead water tanks, towers. वहाँ पर if it's constructed of concrete RC, you can keep on having endless number of flexural stress elements. Now in the building, what is important? In building, what are the two elements, important elements, which we are going to discuss in this course? Is one is beam and second is slab. we'll be discussing these two elements, which are the flexural stress elements, and we'll be designing them. So the first one, which we will start with, is a beam. This is the first element that we are designing here. Now, what is a beam? Apart from that वो slab के नीचे होती है, but you must have also seen beams which are without. There is no slab, but you are providing beams. So what does a beam do there? For example, अगर यहाँ पर मैं एक beam डाल दूँ and there is no slab, it's plywood above. What is the purpose of a beam here? What is it doing there? अगर मैं यहाँ पर डालता हूँ, जी, which load? उसके ऊपर तो कुछ भी नहीं होगा. There is a truss, and the truss is connected to what? To the columns. What is the purpose of a beam there? So the first thing we'll study what is the purpose of beam. Now, if it's a framed structure where you have columns, you have a footing underneath them. It could be a single isolated footing, it could be many other types of footings, combined footings. We'll not go into that today. Now, these columns are connected here by beam. This is the beam here. Why didn't we just go with continuing the column if there was another story? Why did I provide a beam here? Stable against what? Stable ये provide कर रहा है to what? Now, first thing is there is always a floor here between two floors, a slab here. Now, where can I provide that slab? किस पे मैं provide करूँ उसको? Can I join that slab with the columns directly? Yes, I can. There is a slab which is known as flat slab. A flat slab is joined to columns directly. This is the slab, flat slab. This is the topmost pedestal, or the, I don't remember the technical term, whether it's soffit. I have to check. This is the column, and this is the foundation. It will not be pedestal. Pedestal is somewhere here. This is pedestal. That's soffit. And the bottom portion is then the foundation, which is going into the soil. There is no beam here. बहुत सारे columns खड़े कर दिए and उसके ऊपर उनको थोड़ा सा extend किया है at the top columns को, और slab is resting on the directly on the columns. No need of a beam there. But there is a particular mechanism to a flat slab. It's not same जैसे कि हम ये design करते हैं, because what is the problem with this slab is that it will undergo deflection. It undergoes bending. Because the thickness of the slab is very less as compared to beam. Beam की thickness बहुत ज़्यादा होती है as compared to the slab. So slab में there is always a chance of deflection happening. Now you have to then there is a term है, this is known as rigidity. You have to ensure that the slab is rigid. You have to ensure the slab is rigid if it's constructed of reinforced concrete. और otherwise अगर आप wood की slab बना रहे हो, there is no need of rigidity. It's flexible material. There is no need of rigidity. But in reinforced concrete, you have to ensure that the slab is rigid. Or if it undergoes particular amount of deflection, then what will happen is that it will start cracking. एक deflection point के बाद वो crack होना start करता है. For example, if for this sort of room, if there is a RC reinforced concrete slab here, और उसमें कहाँ पर सबसे ज़्यादा डिफ्लेक्शन होगा? बीच में, ऐसे तो सबसे ज़्यादा वहाँ पर होगा. जितनी मैं थिकनेस कम करता जाऊँगा स्लैब की, उतनी उसमें डिफ्लेक्शन होती जाएगी. फर्स्ट इट्स अ सर्विसिबिलिटी प्रॉब्लम, देन secondly there will be it can go into the failure mode after the crackings tend to happen. So to ensure that we provide beam, हम beam provide करते हैं. So the purpose of beam is not that it is acting as a stability element. It is naturally doing it, but that's not the main purpose of beam. Without a beam also you can construct a structure, but you have to ensure that the slab above it is rigid if it's of RC, and if it's not of RC, then there is no problem. There is no problem then. If it's of wood, that's a better material for a slab construction than a reinforced concrete slab. A wood would be always, because this is a diaphragm actually. हम स्लैब को डायफ्राम भी कहते हैं. डायफ्राम जो कि ये हमारा होता है, तो ये because this continuously keeps on expanding and contracting. तो a flexible diaphragm is always a good thing. But at the same time, we also have ribs here. We studied then even the earthquake and the wind and the other factors. So as per IS 456, now this is important to design it first by IS 456. How do we design beam? And which circumstances do we design beam? The first thing is, what is the area? कहाँ पर हम building बना रहे हैं? Where is the structure located? So the first important point is location of structure. Now, I told you this, that location of the structure will decide the exposure conditions. Exposure conditions means, I discussed this last time, the amount of different exposures, water seepage, the carbonation, the chloride attack, the sulfate attack, all these things which are happening. तो मतलब आपका स्ट्रक्चर कहाँ पर है? Is it in the extreme exposure zone, जहाँ पर बहुत सारे chemicals हैं? It's the extreme, very extreme, even the severmost exposure condition. Or is it just mild? So you classify from mild to extreme exposure condition based on the location of the structure. Structure कहाँ पर है? Then उसमें in our case यहाँ पर what is the predominant ये क्या है, मतलब सर्दी और गर्मी, extreme weathers. Now if you are constructing a structure in Ladakh, for example, or Kargil or Dras, there you have even more extreme weather climates. Now in those weather climates, you might go even up to -30 there, and on on the positive side, even to 20 degrees Celsius. So there is an exposure condition which is predominant, which is freeze-thaw cycles in the concrete, and that's also clubbed into an extreme exposure. Although it's not an exposure which is related with carbonation, chloride attack, जो कि corrosion करवाता है steel की, but this is also destroying the concrete. The freeze-thaw cycles, they destroy the concrete. Now we have to take into account all these things first, कि हमारी location कहाँ पर है, अब पानी कितना है वहाँ पर. Now we are constructing something, a structure, वहाँ बिल्कुल पानी की ये टकरा रहा है रोज, तो वहाँ पर there are more chances of seepage, capillary rise of water into the beam and the other structures. फिर उसमें ये देखना है, अब उसमें इंडिविजुअली, अब आप बिल्डिंग के अंदर गए तो एक बीम वॉशरूम के में है, दूसरी बीम इट्स अ ड्राई स्टेट. अब जो वॉशरूम में वहाँ पर रोज पानी स्लैब पे डाल रहे हैं, although there are tiles and other things, but you must have seen, everybody has seen कि एक dampness washrooms के साथ associated होती है. So there is always a small amount of dampness in the structure. Even if you provide the maximum amount of waterproofing, still then you will have some amount of dampness still there. So that's now in the particular building. फिर आप different exposures, अलग अलग beams के in अलग अलग areas of the specific building, वहाँ पर अलग अलग आपको exposure conditions मिल जाएंगी. So from this knowledge we move into IS 456. तो आप you start with the code. Table number 3, page number 18. So it has classified the various exposure conditions. The mild exposure is concrete surfaces protected against weather or aggressive, this is in the table 3, page 18, aggressive conditions except those situated in coastal areas. So it's in the moderate, बिल्कुल mild weather conditions है, no change in the weather climate throughout the year, humidity भी ज़्यादा नहीं है एरिया की, बिल्कुल एक अच्छा सा climate है, पानी भी नहीं है कहीं आसपास. So that you classify in the mild exposure. Then moderate, concrete surfaces sheltered from severe rain or freezing, while wet, concrete exposed to condensation and rain, concrete continuously underwater, concrete in contact or buried under non-aggressive soil or groundwater, concrete surfaces sheltered from the saturated salt air in coastal area. Now all these, जहाँ पर अब आपको थोड़ा सा पानी भी टकरा रहा है, now this you may classify into the moderate. Now it's not clear from this table कितना पानी टकरा रहा है, कितने duration तक. This is all abstract. This is not measured in the quantitative terms. It's all qualitative. आपको क्या लगता है ज़हन में जब आप डिज़ाइन कर रहे हो? Is it a moderate thing or are you moving into severe rain? Concrete surfaces exposed to severe rain, alternate wetting and drying or occasional freezing, while wet or severe condensation. Concrete completely immersed in seawater. Concrete exposed to coastal environment. Now this is severe, all of these. Then very severe is concrete surfaces exposed to seawater, spray, corrosive fumes, severe freezing condition while wet, concrete in contact with or buried under aggressive subsoil, groundwater. Groundwater है वो बिल्कुल यहाँ पर है all the time. Now that concrete is always exposed to that. Now, apart from that, you have corrosive fumes. Now, polluted atmosphere है, industry है, there is an industrial building, वहाँ से fumes भी निकल रहे हैं at the same time, chemicals भी वहाँ पर run हो रहे हैं, and you have a concrete building there. Then you go with the extreme surface of members in tidal zone, members in direct contact with liquid, solid, aggressive chemicals, all of that. पानी में आप है वो स्ट्रक्चर है ऑलवेज एक्सपोज्ड. सो देयर आर वेरियस लेवल्स. आप सीवियर से लेकर एक्सट्रीम तक सबको कह सकते हो कि ये सी वाटर के साथ एक्सपोज है. बट एट द सेम टाइम यू माइट हैव मेनी मेजर डिफरेंसेस कि आप इस कोड को पढ़ के ये समझ नहीं पाओगे वेयर टू टेक द माइल्ड एंड वेयर टू टेक द एक्सट्रीम. नाउ दैट डिपेंड्स ऑन द डिजाइनर इटसेल्फ. ये क्यों रखा गया है इतना इसमें थोड़ा सा, ताकि फिर लोगों का इनकम एंड एक बजट भी होता है, तो उसका भी ख्याल रखना होता है कि हाँ एक्सपोजर है, एक्सपोजर कंडीशन ना यू कैन क्लासीफाई फ्रॉम सीवियर टू एक्सट्रीम एक ही में आप डाल सकते हो फॉर ऑल कंडीशंस. मतलब सी वाटर सीवियर भी है और एक्सट्रीम भी है. देन यू गो टू 8.2.2.3, which is important in our case, freezing and thawing. Clause 8.2.2.3, same page. While freezing and thawing actions under wet conditions exist, enhanced durability can be obtained by the use of suitable air entraining admixtures. When concrete lower than grade of M50 is used under these conditions, the mean total air content by the volume of the fresh concrete at the time of the delivery of the construction should be: number 1, the nominal maximum size of the aggregate should be 20 and 40, and entrained air percentage should be 5 plus 1 and 4 plus 1 plus minus 1. So, the nominal maximum size of aggregate has been fixed here in such conditions, freezing and thawing. Because freezing and thawing में क्या होता है? What happens in freezing and thawing is that your concrete, it cracks, the gel pores जो आपके होते हैं, the cracks start from there. The cracks start from there, and there is always a ratio between the number of voids to the number of gel spaces. So those voids, if we are using lesser grade or size of aggregate, the number of voids could be decreased. So you can avoid the maximum damage due to the freezing and thawing. Freezing and thawing में ये होता है जो entrapped air है अंदर वो freeze हो जाता है और वो फूल जाता है और वो तोड़ देता है उसको. Otherwise अगर वो entrapped नहीं है, if there is no air entrapped one and water entrapped unhydrated, जो कि अभी हाइड्रेशन के साथ सीमेंट के साथ मिला नहीं है, वो पानी जो उसके अंदर है वो फूल जाता है. तो हम उन्हीं वाइड्स को कम कर दें, उसके लिए क्या करते हैं, एग्रीगेट्स का साइज डिक्रीज कर देते हैं. सो व्हाट डू वी डू फॉर these exposure conditions? Other exposure conditions are also mentioned like sulfate attack, but what do we do for it's given in the 8.2.3 requirement of concrete cover. The protection of steel in concrete against corrosion depends upon an adequate thickness of good quality concrete. The nominal cover to the reinforcement shall be provided as per 26.4. So we move to 26.4, which is on page number 46. Page 46. हम क्या करते हैं? We provide we are providing cover to the concrete. Now this could be a concrete beam, concrete slab, concrete column, anything, footing, हर किसी में हम कवर देते हैं. नाउ कवर किसे कहते हैं? First we are talking about beam. There will be a steel bar here. This is the steel bar, and this is is the cover underneath of concrete. We do not keep the steel exposed, although the steel has to be provided in the tension zone, what we came to know. तो टेंशन जोन में सबसे एक्सट्रीम फाइबर वॉज, अगर हम बिल्कुल इसको नीचे रखते हैं, स्टील को बिल्कुल नीचे रखते हैं, लेकिन हम वो नहीं रख सकते बिकॉज वी हैव टू, नंबर वन, स्टील फिर बॉन्ड ही नहीं होगा कंक्रीट के साथ, वी हैव टू मेंटेन अ सिंगल सेक्शन. दूसरा, इसमें देयर इज एन एक्सपोजर, नाउ वी हैव टू प्रिवेंट दैट एक्सपोजर ऑफ द स्टील टू हैपन. तो उसके लिए हम कवर देखते हैं. नाउ one is nominal cover. Nominal cover for reinforcement. Nominal cover is the design depth of concrete cover to all the steel reinforcement, including links. It's the dimension used in the design and indicated in the drawings. It shall not be less than the diameter of the bar. You have steel bars like this, लेकिन हम ये स्टील बार्स कभी भी अलग से नहीं देते. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इन द बीम वी आर नॉट प्रोवाइडिंग इट. You can provide it in lintel bands or other things, not in beams, not in slabs particularly. You will always have two layers of steel. In a beam, you have a ring. You have ring. What is required is only this and this. दो बार्स हमें required है for tension. Tension reinforcement के लिए हमें दो बार्स required है. This and this. Right? Now, what is the purpose of this ring then in a beam? It's for shear resistance. That we'll discuss later on. This is a ring. But the second thing also is that now it's actually bundling the, ये इसको bundle करता है.